Emma had always loved the quiet rhythm of life on their countryside estate, where the mornings smelled of hay and the fields stretched endlessly under the soft light of the rising sun. Riding Daisy, their elegant mare, had always been her escape, a place where the worries of life melted into the steady thump of hooves against the soft earth. But that afternoon began with an unexpected request from her husband, Daniel, who asked her to record herself riding Daisy, insisting it was just for fun, maybe to share with friends. Emma hesitated, the idea of being on camera making her uneasy, but Daniel's persistent tone and the familiar warmth in his smile made her agree, though a flicker of unease lingered in her chest. She led Daisy into the arena, feeling the soft leather of the saddle beneath her fingers and the cool breeze against her face, trying to calm the flutter in her stomach. As she guided Daisy through the routines, Daniel's eyes seemed to linger longer than usual, his presence both comforting and unsettling, making her wonder if there was more behind his request than he admitted. She focused on the connection with Daisy, feeling the horse's smooth, rhythmic movements and the quiet strength beneath her, yet she couldn't ignore the subtle tension in the air, the way Daniel watched her with a sharp attention that felt almost different. By the time she finished, Emma felt a strange mix of pride and unease, proud of her skill and the way Daisy responded, yet unsettled by the curiosity and intensity in Daniel's gaze. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the arena, and Emma's mind raced with questions she couldn't quite voice, sensing that this moment with Daisy on camera might be a turning point, though she didn't know in what way. As Daniel reviewed the footage with her, praising her movements and the horse's grace, Emma felt a shiver of something undefined, a mix of apprehension and anticipation. It was supposed to be a simple video, a fun project, but the way Daniel spoke, the way he lingered on certain scenes, made her heart tighten with a feeling she couldn't yet name. Emma dismounted slowly, running a hand down Daisy's sleek neck, feeling the mare's warmth and strength beneath her fingers, grounding herself against the swirl of thoughts about Daniel's unusual intensity. The video was saved, and Daniel walked away with a soft smile, leaving Emma alone with Daisy and the late afternoon sun, the quiet clopping of hooves and distant birdsongs filling the air. She stood in the arena for a long moment, reflecting on the strange mix of pride, unease, and curiosity that the afternoon had stirred, realizing that this simple act of recording a ride might be the start of something unexpected in her life and marriage, though she couldn't yet understand how. In that fleeting, golden hour, Emma felt the first stirrings of change, a quiet awareness that her life, her marriage, and even her connection with Daisy could be about to shift in ways she had never imagined, leaving her both anxious and strangely excited for what was to come. After that afternoon in the arena, Emma began noticing subtle changes in Daniel that she couldn't ignore. He seemed distracted, often staring off into space, yet whenever Daisy was around, his attention was sharp and almost overwhelming, as if he were watching more than just her riding. The video they had recorded became a silent presence in their home, replayed a few times under Daniel's insistence, with him commenting on her posture, the way she handled Daisy, and even the smallest gestures that Emma herself hadn't realized anyone would notice. At first, she tried to brush it off, convincing herself that Daniel's attention was normal admiration, but deep inside, a flicker of unease began to grow, making her chest tighten whenever he lingered a little too long. Days turned into evenings filled with quiet dinners where Daniel's mind seemed elsewhere, his smiles polite but distant, leaving Emma feeling a hollow ache where connection once lived. She tried to engage him in conversation, asking about his day, sharing small stories from her ride with Daisy, but his replies were clipped, distracted, leaving her grasping at fragments of the man she had married. Evenings became long and lonely, filled with the soft sounds of the farm, Daisy's gentle neighs, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, and Emma's own restless thoughts that refused to settle. She started spending more time with Daisy, letting the horse's calm presence soothe her frayed nerves, finding comfort in the rhythm of riding and training, even as her heart ached with the quiet realization that Daniel was slipping away in ways she couldn't fully understand. The tension grew quietly but persistently, making Emma second-guess herself, her feelings, and even her sense of what their marriage meant. She remembered the man who once laughed freely with her in the fields, whose eyes had sparkled with warmth and admiration, and she felt a bitter pang knowing that laughter was becoming a memory rather than a reality. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the paddocks in gold and orange, Emma watched Daniel standing by the fence, staring at Daisy as she grazed, and she realized how much distance had quietly grown between them. The sight twisted something inside her. She loved him deeply, but the emotional gap was undeniable, and for the first time, she wondered if their love could survive the subtle changes that were unfolding. That night, lying in bed while the wind whispered through the open windows, Emma felt a complex mix of longing and sadness, missing the warmth of intimacy and shared moments, while also recognizing that her own strength was beginning to surface. She understood that the horse, the land, and the quiet routines she had once taken for granted were now anchors for her, stabilizing her heart when Daniel's presence brought uncertainty. Even as she battled feelings of worry and suspicion, she clung to the simple joys of training Daisy, letting the soft cadence of hooves and the breeze across open fields remind her of the grounding love that still existed, even if it wasn't coming from her husband. Each day became a careful balance between yearning for connection and preserving her own sense of self, as Emma realized that understanding Daniel's distance was only the first step in navigating the complex and fragile threads of their marriage. And yet, despite the ache and confusion, there was a flicker of hope, a quiet whisper that love could find its way through honesty, patience, and a willingness to confront the unspoken truths lingering between them. By the end of the week, Emma had begun to see that life on the farm, her bond with Daisy, and even the simple act of riding offered her clarity, courage, and a way to face the emotional storm building quietly in their home, leaving her determined to confront the uncertainty with grace, understanding, and the gentle strength that had always defined her spirit. A week later, Emma's life felt heavier, though she tried to keep her routine with Daisy steady and comforting, using the horse's presence to anchor herself amid growing unease. One afternoon, as she tidied the stable and brushed Daisy's sleek coat, a sudden ping from Daniel's phone caught her attention. Out of habit, she glanced at it and saw a message, brief, casual, but enough to make her stomach tighten. It wasn't explicit, but it hinted at a connection with someone outside their shared life, someone Daniel had been spending time with, laughing with, and perhaps confiding in ways he no longer did with her. Emma's chest constricted, a mix of disbelief, hurt, and confusion flooding through her. Her mind raced, trying to reconcile the husband she loved with the man who had grown distant, the one whose eyes had followed her on the horse but whose heart seemed to wander elsewhere. That evening, she confronted him softly, her voice calm but trembling, asking him directly what the messages meant, trying to mask the hurt that clawed at her from the inside. Daniel sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair, and explained, in clipped words, that he had felt disconnected, unsure of his own feelings, and had been seeking something he couldn't define, not maliciously, not intentionally, but out of a restless need he couldn't fully articulate. Emma listened, her heart aching but her mind clearer than it had been in weeks. She realized that their love was not gone, but it had been fractured by distance, silence, and unspoken needs. The mare, Daisy, became her confidant in those moments of reflection, her soft nuzzles and steady warmth offering the understanding and grounding Emma desperately needed. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light across the fields, Emma made a silent vow to herself: she would protect her own heart, nurture her bond with Daisy, and focus on the life she could control, even as she processed the fragile state of her marriage. The realization that she could not force someone else to stay emotionally present struck her deeply, but with it came clarity, a sense of inner strength and resilience she hadn't acknowledged before. Emma understood that while heartbreak was painful, it could also be a teacher, showing her the boundaries she needed, the self-respect she deserved, and the importance of holding on to her own peace. In the following days, she poured herself into caring for Daisy, training her with renewed dedication, and finding solace in the gentle rhythm of riding, the wind through open fields, and the simple joy of connection with a being who required nothing but love and attention. Even as Daniel lingered in the background, sometimes reaching out, sometimes retreating into silence, Emma's heart began to steady, finding its own cadence apart from the uncertainties that Daniel brought. She reflected on their shared past, the laughter, the warmth, and the promises, recognizing that while their marriage might never fully return to what it had been, she had the power to protect herself, to embrace her own growth, and to find love in ways beyond dependency on another person's actions. And in those quiet moments, when Daisy's soft breathing and gentle movements filled the air, Emma felt a flicker of hope, hope that life could still be beautiful, hope that her heart could heal, and hope that even amid the disappointment and sadness, she could rediscover joy, purpose, and the strength that had always been quietly present inside her, waiting to rise when she needed it most. That evening, as the sky darkened and the stars began to appear over the wide fields, Emma realized that her story was not defined by betrayal or loss, but by resilience, by her ability to love and endure, and by the quiet, steadfast companionship of a horse who had become her anchor in the turbulent sea of emotions, teaching her that even in heartbreak, life offered moments of clarity, beauty, and unexpected strength. Months passed, and Emma slowly found a rhythm that belonged entirely to her. A life shaped by the steady pace of the farm, the gentle guidance of Daisy, and the quiet strength she discovered within herself. Daniel, sensing the distance that had grown between them, tried to reach out, offering small gestures, quiet conversations, and moments of shared tasks around the farm, but Emma realized that bridging the gap required more than brief attempts. It required trust, honesty, and time, none of which could be rushed or forced. She devoted herself to Daisy, training her, riding across the wide paddocks, and caring for her with patience and love, finding in these routines a sense of purpose and joy that had been missing for months. Each ride became a lesson in resilience, each moment with Daisy a reminder that love and strength could exist outside the confines of human expectation or approval. One golden afternoon, as the sun poured light across the fields, Emma felt a surge of clarity and freedom while riding, the wind on her face and the rhythmic stride of the horse beneath her bringing a profound sense of peace. Daniel watched from the edge of the paddock, silent and contemplative, realizing that the woman he had known was still there, stronger and more self-assured than ever, someone who could not be shaken by uncertainty or distance. Emma felt a quiet pride in herself, understanding that love was not only about shared moments or perfect harmony but also about perseverance, empathy, and the courage to face the unknown with grace. Though their marriage still held questions and challenges, Emma embraced the life she had cultivated, finding beauty in the fields, in Daisy's gentle presence, and in the steady heartbeat of her own courage. She acknowledged the pain and heartbreak of the past months but refused to let it define her, allowing herself to hope, to dream, and to live fully in the present moment. Each day on the farm reminded her that connection could take many forms, through the loyalty of a horse, the care of daily routines, and the rediscovery of self-worth and independence. Emma began to smile more genuinely, laugh more freely, and find joy in small, unexpected moments, the way Daisy's mane shimmered in the sun, the softness of the morning light, the quiet hum of life around her. She realized that healing and love could coexist, even when circumstances were complicated, and that her heart had room for forgiveness, understanding, and the quiet contentment that came from self-reliance. Daniel, seeing her transformation, felt a mixture of regret, admiration, and a subtle hope that perhaps, together or apart, they could navigate this new chapter with honesty and respect. Emma, however, understood that the most important relationship she had was the one she nurtured with herself, a bond of strength, compassion, and resilience that no external force could break. As the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Emma rode Daisy with a sense of triumph and peace, knowing that she had emerged from heartbreak with clarity, dignity, and a renewed love for life. The farm, the open fields, and the unwavering presence of Daisy had guided her through uncertainty and sadness, teaching her that even amid emotional turbulence, one could find stability, hope, and the courage to embrace the future. That evening, Emma whispered softly to herself and to Daisy, feeling the warmth of connection, the serenity of accomplishment, and the quiet thrill of personal growth, fully aware that her heart was intact, her spirit unbroken, and that love, in all its forms, had a way of returning gently to those who remained open, patient, and resilient, ready to face life with grace and quiet strength.